start recording now. My bad. And then secondly, a lot of the time, especially here in Texas, we have the same team again and again and again. And the only time we see different teams is when there's a visiting team in. So it's going to be really, you're going to be friendlier with the home team because a lot of the time if I'm in Austin, I'll be repping Austin all the time, and then Dallas comes in rarely. So, yeah, definitely what John said, taking that effort to go out, meet them, get their names. If you can remember their names when they come back, it means that much more. Yeah. And
something I like to do to help that out, if, for example, I referee San Antonio a lot, but whenever they have a visiting team, there's usually one or two people on that visiting team that I know just from past experiences. I strike up conversation with them a good amount. That gives me a good gateway into their team to communicate more freely with their captains, their front rows. It's a good way for me that I usually break the ice with those teams.
I think it's important to note that we are trying to avoid like full-on conversations before the match.
Okay.
Because that's when the teams are kind of getting into their head and getting ready. Like if they're trying to talk to you and have a conversation, that's fine, but never try to prolong anything, prevent them from warming up. So just keep it short, sweet. Hey, nice kid. It was awesome. And then continue walking, continue your professionalism, and you do your warm-up. Post-match, I always like to go to the social if I can. It's a great opportunity to chat with the players once they've already relaxed, game's over, they're like, cool, what are we doing now? Like, and they actually can meet you as a person. I find that post-match is the best time to really meet these individuals, and then it'll help you again next time. If I've got that, Sean, in a different section, it'll help you next time if you have them again, because they'll remember you. They'll be like, oh, I actually met this referee. They're a really cool person. So, yeah, and feedback as well. You can get some really, don't get into a lot of arguments post-match and, learn from each other. And I've got that in the coaches as well. But it's a great opportunity to ask what the players are seeing, If they're like, hey, I was super confused by this. And you're like, interesting, I too was confused by this. Own up to it. So that's some
Hey, Kat, I have one more during the match, if that's all right.
Sure.
Yeah, so I would just say I always like to initiate either with the 9 or the captain or a front row or a forwards captain, whatever it is, just at those dead times, walking to a line out or jogging to a line out or during the setup of the scrum while you're waiting for an 8-man, just ask them hey, is there anything that you want me to look for? It's an easy question to ask, and it shows that you care, right? And that you don't think that you're mistake free, whatever. Instead of them having to bring it up to you, it shows that you're kind of open to it. I guess it depends on the team, right? Because if it's a really mouthy team, you probably don't want to do that because then it'll open the floodgates. But I always feel like that's a really good way to kind of gain that rapport with them. And they realize they actually care and want to look for certain things or whatever it is.
Yeah. I also have to say Austin is getting totally slammed by rain right now. If my internet goes out and this webinar ends spontaneously, I apologize. So communication with teams. This is going to be some of the out there stuff that you probably haven't thought about a lot, but a tiny change can help you so much. Vocal tone, body language, and then the content of communication is something we always focus on. But really, vocal tone and body language. So here's 2 still shots. Can anyone give me just first impressions, things they like about the photos, things they don't like? What kind of stands out to you when you're looking at these 2 pictures?
Hey, Jared, I'll take this one on.
Go for it.
Coming from the someone who's historically had a problem with this. If we look at the person on the left, you can see that their posture is very relaxed. His shoulders are relatively low, very non-threatening, very open body language, as opposed to the person on the right, he's squared up to the other individual and is having a direct confrontation with the hooker there. Now, maybe that's appropriate for the particular circumstance. Maybe it's not, but I'm willing to bet that the person on the left is having an easier go of the match than the person on the right.
I would also like to point out the lean. If you notice the person on the left, their weight is on one leg. That's informal, and that's connotating probably like a leaning into that person, just kind of like a softer version of just like, hey, we're buddies, let's talk about this, versus the rigidness and almost lean forward on the right, which is an antagonistic, or even though his palm is down and his hand is down below near his waist, there's still an antagonism to that.
And just one more thing I just noticed was the hooker on the right versus the prop on the left. The prop on the left looks very relaxed, so the player looks very relaxed, whereas the player on the right, he's got his palms down. He looks like, whoa, he doesn't look very relaxed. He looks very much like, what are we doing here? Is this going to be a confrontation?
Yeah, these are all fantastic assessments of this. I completely agree with you guys. I think on the left, you just got, a casual conversation. Hey, XXXXX, whatever. And on the right, like, as soon as you square your shoulders and go face to face with somebody, it's very intimidating. If you don't believe me, go find someone and do it. They will be terrified. I mean, they'll probably be terrified anyway because whatever. But you have a mask on.
We also always kind of have to lead with a smile, and I have to learn that being 6'10". If I don't smile, people just get scared. But the smile is also something that's going to take care of a lot of situations. As long as it's not a smirk and you come across like you're a jerk.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I have different points of view in these pictures. For example, in the picture on the left, I see a lack of interest of the black jersey guy. He's not even looking at the referee. I think he's probably not caring about what is he saying. And also in the picture on the right, I believe that the referee is like caring in the stability of the scrum, and he's saying like you must be careful with the stability of the scrum. Otherwise, you can even fall and you can have an injury, and I don't want that. Probably it's also intimidating, but it's the way I think that he's taking the decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing here is we're really just looking at the body language of these two individuals. If you're going to stand straight on to somebody, it's intimidating, it's aggravating, it's going to make whoever you're speaking to feel like they have to be defensive or that they're being talked down to. So if for some reason you think you can apply that in your game, okay, there may be a time and place for that. But otherwise, this nice open body position is like you're having a conversation, but not everyone else on the field is left out of it. They can't hear what you're saying, but they can look into the conversation. They see you having it. If you're face on, there's no room for anybody else on the field in that conversation, and that's a very intimidating stance. So I'm going to play two clips. I'll play each one twice, and then we're going to just talk about the clips, little differences, things we liked, things we didn't like. You won't hear a lot by the ref, so that's not important.
It definitely looks like Chicago's up in the aggression there in the back, in the breakdown. The only issue is if it's messy, and they got caught not rolling away that time, so. You're getting a yellow card here. You can't tell who that is.
All right, I'm going to play that one more time.
Now, we've got a stoppage in play. She's coming back to the not back 10. She's got the plans. They're going to go back to that, and eventually, I think they're going to have to captain. It definitely looks like Chicago's up in the aggression there in the back, in the breakdown. The only issue is if it's messy, and they got caught not rolling away that time, so. You're getting a yellow card here. You can't tell who that is.
All right, so that's our first clip. And then this is going to be our second clip.
Not sure how many more conversations the ref can have without getting a card. There is a yellow card given. The line question is that is a zero.
And one more time.
Offside when it's left. Not sure how many more conversations the ref can have without getting a card. There is a yellow card given. The line question is that is a zero.
All right, so first clip versus second clip. Thoughts, feelings, comments?
The second ref looked a lot calmer than the first ref. The first ref, just by her body language and movements, clearly looked agitated and annoyed, in my opinion.
Did you say the first
See,
ref?
I would actually I say the opposite. I'd say the first ref is calm. She
Not
knows.
from what I saw.
Well, she's just calling for the number. She calls for number 17. She finds number 17. She calls number 17 over.
I was looking at her.
Yeah, I mean, but she gets her over there. She has the conversation, and she, the body language is more relaxed. The shoulders are down. In the second clip, she's rigid as a board. She's like the way that she's walking is very. I mean, it's not robotic, but she's super rigid. And then as soon as she pulls the card, she like retreats. Like she doesn't want to even. I mean, which is good in some ways, but she's very confrontational in the way that she just kind of walks up, shows the card, and then walks away immediately. So I would say the second clip is definitely kind of more panicked. That's a bad word, but I kind of get the feeling that she's more angry at the game and but yeah, I don't know.
For me, it was the first referee's hands and all those like kind of sudden movements she was doing when explaining to the players she carded. That's why she looked a lot more annoyed to me.
Yeah, but it seems you should always kind of give your explanation and not lead with the card when you go into a conversation.
Yeah, she didn't even say. She didn't even give a brief feedback of what happened in that situation. That's what I was talking about. The soft skills. The soft skills are a really good manner to speak with the players. No, she's frustrated and she's receiving a card. Why don't you give a little feedback of what happened and also present the card later? Huh? It's my point of view.
Yeah, I was going to say the first one looked like we got a clear explanation to the captain and the offending player why you're getting a card, and then gave the card. And both players, while obviously frustrated, turned around. One ran off field, one ran back to her team. This one, it's very much the second one. It's very much the ref seems angry, and then just straight up, here's the card in your face, gone. And it doesn't seem like we get much of an explanation, and you can kind of see a couple players react like, what was that for? And so it seems like the second one is much more.
I'm interested.
Frustration with it.
I'm interested in the commentators. In the first one, you can't tell what exactly is going to happen, right? They're like, "Oh, is this? Are we doing something? What's going on?" Whereas in the second clip, the commentators are like, "Oh my gosh, we know what's happening and it's definite." And I think you kind of see that. I agree with everyone's viewpoints. Like I kind of like the first one a little bit better, but if this has been happening the entire game, I can understand why the second one probably went down this way.
It almost looked in the first one, it almost looked like she made a punching on the ground motion, like her AR had called in foul play on the radio and had seen something behind the back.
To
no.
give some background, both of these infringements are just repeat infringements by the teams. They've both been warned. It's both repeat infringements. It's the same, very similar situation. And everybody's analysis, like, awesome. This is what I just wanted to show you is you can take a lot of information out of just watching these clips. So anything from the speed that the referee walked over, you could tell in the first one, the referee was calmer and was just walking. hey, we need to get this done. The second one, the referee was definitely walking with a purpose. She's like, I got something to do. And that, even just the speed that you are walking when you're going to have a conversation or give a card, like that can set a tone. And from my perspective, I felt the second one was a lot. You could tell everybody in the situation was stressed. Yes, it was a higher level game. So, you know, there's different factors at play there. But you can see the referee. One of my least favorite things is that, like, angry pointing. You don't want to ever have angry, pointy hands. You want to have, like, open, welcoming hands, like you're like a nana getting a hug. You know, like open gesturing. You don't want to be like angry pointing. But what I just wanted to show you guys is just like 20-second clips of the same thing and how different that they can look, just by little changes. So my suggestions in, you know, trying to calm a situation down or just have your interactions with the players be a little more like calm and friendly. Standing open, so not directly head on with anyone, nice and like open body position. Sometimes you'll get people that like have to stand head on, and you'll notice that you'll like try to stand open and they'll like walk in front of you, even if you move like multiple times. Just kind of like put the weight on one leg and try to be cash. Open and soft hands instead of pointing. If you're gonna welcome someone in to have a conversation, you want to do it with a nice like palm up open, like, would you come into my space with me so we can chat, versus like point you right here now. It's totally different messages. And then take that moment to compose yourself. So whether it's the speed that you're walking, whether it's the speed that which you're gesturing, take that moment. You'll seem a lot calmer, and your body language will relay that message. So knowing some of those basics, what are some things that we like about these images and things we don't like?
The first referee is too close.
Yeah, he's kind of up in his face
That's
now.
confrontational.
Yeah, it's confrontational. Now, whether that was initiated by Lex or by the player, you know, it seems like in that one, it's probably a player getting up closer to him and you know, has an issue with something that happened. But then the one on the right, you know, she's more open. She's off to the side. Her body's open. You know, the hands are down. She's not pointing at her.
Sure. And this is like, you guys nailed it. The first one, you can see that the referee is trying to, you know, like relax their shoulders, put the weight on one leg, because I'm assuming he has been put into this position that for him is too confrontational. So he is trying to ease that in any way he can when, you know, the captain has come up really close to him. Like, just the little thing can turn that from being like standing squared shoulders, like, yeah, we're going to go, to like, you're kind of close to me, but what do you have to say? So, yeah. Content of communication. First one is really challenging for me. I'll tell you this, because explain, if you're penalizing a team, explain only when absolutely necessary. And the argument is it's never really necessary. I personally get caught up in the excitement of being right. So when I penalize someone, and it's like a really exciting thing for me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, the person fell on the wrong side of the ball. I remember talking about this in the call last week. It's a, you know, weird penalty and you're not rolling away. Nailed it. I'm super excited. And I find that I try to basically put that in conversation so I can let the teams know how awesome I am at my job. Don't. If you penalize a team, they're backing away, rad. Penalty, not rolling away. Everyone's got it. You don't need to say anything else. If the opportunities that you would use to explain, maybe once or twice. And if you're trying to stop doing this, I would say never explain. You can ease back into that later. If you're explaining after a call, you're opening the invitation that anybody can just talk to you, and that's not something you want. Keep it short and simple. So if you do have to explain something, or if you have to talk to a captain, get the facts out there. Just short, quick, easy. We've had 3 breakdowns in a row. Your players aren't rolling away fast enough. I need you to help me with that. Done. You don't need to so we had that breakdown over there. It was about a 22 in the 15. You might remember it. It was like your number 4 was on the ground. He wasn't rolling away fast enough, so the other 9 had to dig the ball out. Then the second break, he doesn't care anymore. Short, sweet. Utilize the phrase help me to help you. That's kind of the attitude. You're going to the captain to try to get their help. So you're like, Captain, we've had 3 breakdowns in a row. Your players aren't rolling away. I need you to help me clean this up before I have to take further action. So now the responsibility is no longer on you that you have to clean up this mess. It's on the captain that he needs to get his team together, because it's going to come back being his, it's his job now. And if they get a yellow card, it's his fault because he didn't bring his team together enough. So allow them to take some responsibility. Cool. There will be audio for this one. I will explain it afterward in case you guys can't hear it. What are some things you guys liked about Jamie's communication and some you weren't so keen on? Anyway.
I'll be honest, I really couldn't understand what was being said.
That's fair. If you can't, that's so. Basically, there's a penalty. Jamie talks to the player. It's your second late tackle. I need you to keep your standards up. After that, the blue captain, expresses some concern. I'm like, whoa, it's been a bajillion things all day. And Jamie's like, yeah, I got that too. And then explains, I had advantage for something down there, and then this. What I like is he's got that quick reminder out of the way to the gold team, So your second late tackle, keep your standards up. There's your message. 2 high tackles or late tackles, we better not have another one.
Holy shit.
The blue captain is a little concerned. He placates him with yep, I've got it. And then he adds a little extra information at the end, about he was playing advantage. Captain doesn't look super interested in that. He's probably, heart rate's 190. So maybe not the most necessary, but everything he says is really clean and crisp. So I like that.
Hey, Kat, how do you feel about? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So I said, Kat, if you were playing again, if you watch his shoulders and everything's very relaxed, very smooth, and nothing's aggressive. It's a really smart way of communicating to teams without seeming like you're trying to take control of the game, like you're trying to impose yourself. It looks really, really unconfrontational, like you're just another piece of the game. I really like the way his body looked.
Yeah, so true. Kaz, were you saying something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, how do you feel about so the way that he addresses the first gold player? It's one of those kind of off the cuff comments as he's walking away, which sometimes I feel like can be really not degrading, but you're almost yeah, piss off, I'm done with you. It's not really a thing, but it's also you're not making it serious. So how do you strike that balance? Because it's you don't want to stop the game and call him over just to say, hey, that's your second late tackle, because that's not necessary. But you also don't want it to be like you're yelling at him from 10 meters away and like, you know, saying it to everybody. So like, where do you find that balance?
It looks to me that this is a moment of pause, like that he's trying to manage something instead of F you've done this. It's just like, you know what? I've got a second while we've got blue player down here.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
By the way,
I think Kaz brings up a really good point that, you know, sometimes if you're trying to say something to a player and they kind of do that whole like whatever walk away, you're given a really big opportunity here to ruin your rapport for the rest of the match, and feel good about yourself, or, you know, kind of take it on the shoulder and absorb it. And I'm not telling you which to do because different situations call for things, but you know, if you have a player who's kind of like rolls his eyes, walks away, you know, kind of just like ignores you, if you're going to stop it and be like, boop, nope, captain, I demand to be respected. Your player is completely disrespecting me. That player is never going to respect you again because you're just swinging your big dick around. I'm not saying we're out here to be disrespected. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. But maybe absorb a little bit, and at your next opportunity, if you can have a word with the captain in downtime, that's a better opportunity to you know, keep some of that rapport. Make sure you let the captain know, hey, I don't really want to be blown off. But also, I mean, this is totally different than if, like, the player flips you off. If the player, like, whatever, flips you off, then, yeah, you can.
Hey, Kat. Jared here, just to add my own 2 cents on that. I had a really big learning opportunity on that topic probably a year and a half ago, where the lesson I learned was timing of those conversations is absolutely key, and trying to set yourself up for success. And in this particular instance, I had a situation where I was trying to address a concern I had with a player about some potentially unsafe play. They had just been scored on, had a chat, and he was none too thrilled that I was speaking with him after he got scored on. And I escalated the situation when it would have been a better management scenario for me to wait until after the kick was taken, have a chat with the captain, say, hey, I'm watching number 6. He did this. You might want to have a word with him. Sort of looking for the expected outcome. If you go into it with everyone's emotional and upset, you're going to leave that with everyone being emotional and upset. So setting yourself up for success in those conversations has helped me a lot in recent years.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice. I mean, we've got to be the cool ones out there, and we've got to be the ones, and that means absorbing a lot of that pressure, you know, so not lashing out when you feel like people are heated. So yeah, that I remember that game. What was there? And then allowing the captain to take a lead. I really like this clip. Just check it out.
Undisciplined. And a quick talk coming. You have to imagine.
I'm gonna play it one more time, just really quick.
Undisciplined. And a quick talk coming. You have to imagine.
So what I love about this clip is the Atlanta, who's the captain that Amelia's talking to, the Atlanta captain doesn't even let the referee finish. She is like, I'm so screwed. My team is about to get a yellow card. So she comes up. She's like, yeah, can I please go talk to them? I think some of the best advice I ever got was, if your chat with the captain should have the captain asking if they can talk to their team afterward. You shouldn't have to tell them, but the way that you communicate with the captain, the seriousness of your message should have them being like, yeah, can I get a second to talk with my team? So I really like testing that out. If you can go out, if you're having chats with the captains, try to avoid saying like, now go tell your team this, and see if they are asking for that time themselves. Because in a situation like this, the Atlanta captain is like, I understand what you're about to tell me because I know we're having an issue and I really need to talk to them during this time. So think about that. How can you use the captain to relay your messages? Because you need to. If you're just telling the captain and then they don't share that message, why are you even talking? Boom. That is communication with players. Awesome. Next thing, we've got communication with coaches. So in this situation, I'm talking about team coaches, our favorite people. Introduce yourself. First thing you do, get to the field. You find the coach, introduce yourself. You're like, hey, my name's Kat. I'm the referee for the match. Don't say your name's Kat unless you're me. Okay? Say your name, whatever your name is. A good opportunity, ask what their goals are for the match. So what are you guys trying to do today, Because then you can figure out, they're like, oh, we're really trying to attack the breakdown. So it's like, cool, I need to have really clear standards at the breakdown, or else everything they've worked on this week is going to just explode and they're going to be really mad. So by asking what their goals are, they are like, oh, this referee cares what I tried to do this week. That's really interesting. And yeah, I have more tips at the end. Then halftime versus the end of the match. So this is for like coaches wanting to approach you, which they usually do. At halftime, if you've got a team of 3, immediately go to your team of 3 so you have support. And if a coach comes over, try to get out of that situation as politely as possible, escalating, of course, if the coach is like just yelling in your face. But something like, coach, I'd love to chat after the game. I need to, do my halftime ritual. Once again, they are probably really frustrated. They're probably really emotional. Once again, this is the most important thing I said before. This is the most important thing in their week. This is what they've been building for all week. So their emotions are running high. Just ask them nice and polite. You don't have to be like, not at halftime, coach, go away. Because that's not going to help you in any situation. End of the match, feel free to ask for that cool down period. Coming off the field, coach immediately comes over. Coach, I need 10 minutes to grab a drink and stretch. I will come find you after that to talk. Gives them a chance to cool down, whether they think they need it or not. And it gives you a chance to cool down, reflect, take your time to yourself. If you're ever caught by a coach at the end of the match, you need to ask for this cool down period. It's as much important for you as it is for them, because they are flying high on a million emotions and they need to chill out. So by you saying, I need this time, is really telling them you need to calm down. Cue Taylor Swift. Don't fear the coach. They're out there working, trying to learn, just as much as we are. So you don't have to totally, I don't want to talk to the coach. I don't want to listen to anything the coach says. The coach is just yelling at me. The coach is a dick. That's not, no, let's try to work with them a little bit. Feel free to talk to them after the match. I like to share contact information. And yeah, here, if you have a business card, that's great. Here's my email. Feel free to send me, questions. If you're not comfortable doing this, send them to me, send them to Tim, Sean, Ozzy, anybody you trust who can act as a barrier. Because if you can start talking, and I've gotten a lot of clips from coaches, and then we talk through them together. So, after my Cal game, the Army coach gave me 14 video clips and asked about every video clip. And 12 of them, I was like, this is nothing. But he learned what referees are looking for. And then a couple of the clips that he sent me, I was like, yeah, you're right. I got that wrong. Next time I do this. And that lets, the coach know that you're trying to get better and you're willing to admit that you're going to make mistakes. So communication with coaches is fantastic. There's just an appropriate time and place to do that. And right after the match or at halftime isn't that time. Anyone else have any coach-related talking tips?
So I say to the group, like, it's okay to use the TRRA as a buffer. I mean, I had a point where I stepped in between a coach and another referee and just kind of gave a little buffer, but they reached out to the TRRA, and it didn't reflect negatively on me or the referee in question, but, like, the fact that they can go to the association really kind of gives that nice buffer where you don't have to worry about, like, getting yelled at and everything like that. It's okay to use the association as that buffer.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note that you shouldn't be afraid of anything sent to the association. Like, you shouldn't worry, like, I don't want to send this coach to the chairman because he's not going to assign me to these good matches anymore. Like, you shouldn't worry about that. Like, we're here to help you guys. So just, we'll take in the angry, I'll listen to a coach yell at me for 30 minutes. I'll be like, I was there, dude. You're totally out of line. Like, I'm fine with doing that for somebody else or for myself. Cool. That's communication with coaches. And then last, just touching on communication with the match official team. As our last presentation was on communication, like content for the match official team, I just wanted to touch on how body language and vocal tone can help this as well. Short and sweet. You don't want to be standing there all day making the players wonder what you're doing. And then the same positive body language. You want to have an open conversation. Of course, you're the only people involved with it if it's you and your AR, but you're not closing off the rest of the teams and your backs aren't to any of the players. So they still acknowledge they are part of this bigger conversation group, even though they can't hear what you're saying. But the second you turn your back to them, you're closing them out. So this is just one clip.
Not a knock on. Yep, she stepped on the line.
No, don't listen to that guy. He's an idiot. But you can see, even though you got your favorite little captain who really has no business being there, but she can't really hear what's going on. She probably can because she's that close. But, like, you have this open body position, but you're not seriously welcoming anyone into that. Like, oh, captain, you want to hear what we're talking about? It just looks better. And then we can watch this clip as well. So like I said, this is less about the content, since we went over that in our last meeting, and more about that body position. They're open, they're facing the field, they can see everything that's going on. When this clip first starts, the referee turns around and walks straight to the AR. Of course, the AR is like, no, you need to turn around. There's a brawl, not a brawl, but a scuffle happening behind you. So if you've got a situation like that, you can do the cool backwards walk. Just don't trip, please. That makes it really not cool. Kind of go backwards so you can see everything that's going on all the time. You can judge, like, the moods of the players. If you've got serious foul play, you'll see it on the players' faces, versus, like, you see the players are totally confused on what happened. Like, then maybe you're indicating yourself, but you're gaining context clues from what you see. And if you kind of do this like abrupt walk away, see, there you go, that cool backwards walk. There you go. It's just, he's like, yep, I'm going to get to my AR, but I don't really trust you guys yet. So that's just how you can use that body language with the match official team. So last thing I want to hit on is my toolbox of things that I do in basically every game that I have found really help me. So one, I always introduce myself to the coaches when I show up to the field. When I'm planning front row chats, always ask what works best for the teams. Talking to the coach, cool. Hey, what time works best for you for a front row chat? Sometimes they have a really specific response. Sometimes they're like, you know what? Look around, the prop, hooker. Yeah, they're all here. Can we do it now? Perfect. Whatever works for the teams, that's what you're there. You're there to serve the team, so work with them. Sometimes they'll be like 25 minutes before. Awesome. I'll meet you back here 25 before. If your team say the same time, just, say, I'm meeting with them 25 before. When I'm done with them, can I come over and chat to you guys? Does that work? Make sure the coach thinks it's their idea. They've set the time. They've put you in their schedule, and they're happy. You don't want to be like 30 minutes before I'm going to come talk to your front rows. You don't want to make the coaches change their warm-up. Halftime check-ins, I love to ask the captain right after halftime if they have anything for me. It usually totally throws them off because they're like, what? And then they also, they just had 10 minutes to talk about what their plan is and what's working for the team. So what's going to be at the forefront of their mind is their biggest frustrations and what you can do to help them execute their game plan the best, which will help you have a really successful second half. So halftime, just super casual. Captain, do you have anything for me? Captain's like, can we please watch those offside lines? You can ask a nice follow-up question, makes them understand that you're listening to them and you care. At the breakdown or at the set pieces? At the set pieces. Yep, I can do that. So listen and agree with the captains. Captains are very emotional people, and they just want to be heard. So if they come up and they're on the ground, every time I have to run over, step over them to try to get the ball out of the breakdown, can you just get the bodies out of the way? Nice open stance. You're standing there with your soft, happy hands. You're nodding. You're listening. If, it's something you have, it's really easy to be like, I haven't seen that, but I will take a look out for it. Or I haven't seen anything affecting your passing lane, but I'll be sure to take another look. Once again, you hear their concerns, you accept their concerns. If they have a very specific, I think there's a lot of tip tackles, and I thought those were all yellow cards. You should be like, if I see anyone going beyond the horizontal, I'm definitely thinking yellow card. I haven't seen that yet, but I will look out for it. Is letting them know, here's what I think you're describing. That sounds like a situation in which I would give a yellow card, but I haven't seen that exact situation yet, though I will look out for it. Never say, no. It's really easy to be like, oh, I haven't seen that, but I'll look for it. Lets them know you're human. You can't see everything. Don't over-explain your decisions. We talked about this one before. Stop being excited that you're right. I'm telling myself that. And then remember your role. What's your job? What are you there to do? Have fun. Officiate the game. Keep everyone safe. Always remember your role. That is that. Do you guys have any questions, comments, concerns? Fun stories?
So we can be Nigel Owens.
Did you get anything out of this presentation?
I'm having fun. I mean, I did got called out already, so love you.